This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of Phatts TV, sanctioned by PA Phatts and the non-genetically proven son. Any and all words have been authorized during the show. There is nothing off limits. Nobody is restricted from watching and participating in the show. It is a free-for-all. Commencing at the siren, any and all discussions will be legal for an extended period of time. Sports, politics, and any and all controversial topics will be talked about. You have been warned. May God be with us all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Phatts TV on this Thursday night, April the 29th, 2021. Rather humid out here today in my little neck of the woods. Joining me as always from his underground bunker deep in the heart of central Pennsylvania in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, your non-genetically proven son with a flag over his shoulder. Look at that nice flag.
Yeah, it was supposed to come in Saturday and be the surprise because I'm moving to a new room tomorrow. No. But came in today.
You could have put it up next week. You didn't have to put it up today.
Cool.
It is. It's a good flag. Can't wait for you to order me one to put it. Well, I mean, actually, I don't know what I'm going to do because then I can't zoom in on me.
That was the only thing I was thinking about when I thought about giving it to you. I was like, you don't really see the background anymore when I'm not there.
Yes. So
I can get you a little like 6x4 flag and put them on.
I mean, I still want it. So we'll see. So we got a jam-packed show tonight, and I want to make sure we're done by 8 o'clock. So let's get right to it. So some old grandpa guy gave a speech last night.
Heard it was over an hour.
It was. Somebody must have shot him up with some good deal of adrenochrome. You know, a little bit of adrenaline to get him through that hour. But it was very interesting. It was usually when you give a joint, a speech in front of the joint session of Congress, the chamber, the House of Representatives chambers where the speech is normally jam-packed. It was maybe 30% full. Obviously, because of COVID. But it was very symbolic because nobody, went to his campaign rallies. Nobody watches his speeches online. And in fact, only not even 12 million people watched the speech last night. Now, for those of you that are thinking, 12 million, that's not a bad number. Yeah, Trump got 4 times that. And most presidents do get in the 40 some odd million. Biden got less than 12.
You could just see it even on CNN's YouTube. They streamed the speech. There was like 12,000 people watching. Normally it's in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Even for Trump's speeches, CNN's YouTube was over 100.
Yeah. 1,000, you mean?
1,000, yeah.
But he got 81 million votes. Don't forget that. So I just want to touch on a couple points to his speech because our main focus tonight is on the Kentucky Derby, and that's going to take us a little while to go through because there is 20 horses, although a bunch of them you can throw out this year. So the first thing I want to talk about is a dead flat lie that he told during the speech. Yes, shocking that he would lie during the speech. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Let me set this up. He was talking about receiving a letter from a single mother at this point. So, let's see what we got here.
The difference in the world. A single mom in Texas who wrote me. She said she couldn't work. But she said the relief check put food on the table and saved her and her son from eviction from their apartment. A grandmother in Virginia who told me she immediately took her granddaughter to the eye doctor. Something she said she put off for months because she didn't have the money.
Okay. So, did anybody catch the lie that was in there? Anybody? Bueller? I understand there's, a pretty long delay here. So normally I'll wait for you guys to say something, but this time I'm not going to wait. But anyway, if you're watching, let me know that you're watching tonight. So the lie was that he said this woman who sent him a letter said that it's the check that she got for the government saved her from being evicted. Lie. How do I know it's a lie? Because right now there's a government moratorium on evictions. Nobody right now could be evicted in this country out of their home, apartment, whatever. Come on, Grandpa Joe. I understand you're old and a little bit senile, but come on. You didn't even watch the speech last night, did you?
I watched it the first 10 minutes, got bored, turned it off.
Got bored. I understand.
I didn't exactly listen to him for that long.
So again, if you're watching us tonight, let me know. If you have the courage to tell me who you are, let me know.
At least Nancy didn't rip up the speech this year.
Well, you know what? Which makes sense. Although, if you watch her, like, when she springs up and claps as much as she clapped last night, she looked like she was a little schoolgirl in love. I was literally waiting for her to come out from around the podium, jump on Joe, and start dry humping him. Because it looked like she was smitten with him last night. Like that she was just going to jump on him, wrap her arms around his neck, wrap her hairy legs around his waist, and just dry hump him. Nancy.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll go back and watch. She was like... She was giddy. Very giddy. So, then he talks about having stuff made in America. Which is good. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Let's see what he says. Come on, Joe. Start talking.
When I think climate change, I think jobs. American Jobs Plan will put engineers and construction workers to work building more energy-efficient buildings and homes. Electrical workers, IBEW members installing 500,000 charging stations along our highways so we can own the electric car market. Farmers planting cover crops so they can reduce the carbon dioxide in the air and get paid for doing it. Look, think about it. There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. No reason.
Very interesting he chose the capital of China there. Because he's bought and paid for by China. I thought that was very, very interesting. But, you know what? He's right. There's no reason why stuff that we're going to use in America can't be American made. That's very... Even you, non-genetically proven son, could agree with that.
Yeah. And then I would wrap around and say, well, why is your tax plan ridiculous?
Well... But I want to show you something else. Let me see here. Go to the 12:23 mark. Oh, wrong one. Haha. Okay. So, he's telling, no reason why wind turbine blades can't be made in Pittsburgh. They got to be made in Beijing. So I wonder who said something similar to that. Where have we heard about buying American before? It's vaguely reminding me of something. Maybe it reminded me of this.
We are doing numbers that no one would have thought possible just 3 years ago. Likewise, we are restoring our nation's manufacturing might, even though predictions were, as you all know, that this could never, ever be done.
Okay, by the way, right now, if you're watching Nancy, this is where she's ripping up the paper to rip up the speech.
After losing 60,000 factories under the previous 2 administrations, America has now gained 12,000 new factories under my administration, with thousands upon thousands of plants and factories being planned or being built.
So you gotta love, this is what I hate so much about politicians. Why I can't stand politicians. So he talks about bringing jobs back to America, and Democrats don't stand and applaud for that. Biden talks about, wind turbines being made in Pittsburgh. Being made in Pittsburgh and not Beijing. And Republicans don't stand and applaud for that. That bugs the living shit out of me. Just because the person that's saying it is from another political party doesn't mean you sit there with your hands beneath your ass. You applaud. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you agree. By the way, message board operational. Should you wish to chime in, please chime in. So then he started talking about how he talked about adding, for you kiddies out there, 4 more years to public education. How would you like that? How would you like to go to school for 4 more years? How's that for you? Oh, by the way, it would be free public education because I would have to pay for it.
You want my response?
Your response is, thank God I'm graduating college next year.
No, that's a big middle finger. No. Because he said something about before, preschool,
right.
Adding years before preschool.
Yes.
What are you going to learn when you're 4?
Well, that was his first 2 years is before kindergarten. It's in preschool. Now, there's nothing wrong with learning in preschool. You, non-genetically proven son, went to preschool.
Yeah, I went to a private school.
You went to
It's way different than public school. In public school, basically, kindergarten is you go play for a day. You might learn some numbers, some shapes, colors. I'm out here learning everything else. I learned 1st and 2nd grade.
Just because you knew how to play chess in kindergarten, and that is
I didn't know how to play chess.
That is a true story, ladies and gentlemen, where he went to school. He went to preschool and kindergarten at this. It was a Montessori school. Yes, he got out of kindergarten knowing how to play chess. And if I could have afforded it, you would have stayed in Montessori all your days. But then you went to public education and you were bored.
For the first 2 years, I learned nothing.
Yes. It was all basically...
What did I learned Spanish, I learned instruments, I knew how to play chess.
Yep. The only thing you didn't learn that I know of is coitus. But who knows? So anyway...
That's first grade. That's first grade.
It's interesting that compare and contrast to the last administration. Basically, Trump, if you remember, wanted to expand private schools. Like, he wanted to get I don't want to say he wanted to get rid of public schooling. He didn't want to do that. But he wanted to reform the whole education system. Because let's face it, public schools mostly suck. Sorry. I know a lot of you teachers mean well, and a lot of you teachers do a good job, but let's face it, some of you teachers are there for the paycheck. Some of you teachers are there to put in the time because for some unknown, ungodly fucking reason, you still get a fucking pension that I gotta fucking pay for. You don't deserve a pension. You deserve a 401k like the rest of us. You could even have an awesome match. I don't mind paying for an awesome match, but you don't deserve a fucking pension. For those of you watching, go pull up your school district's budget and see how much of the budget goes to pensions every year. The school district I live in, it's 30%. Think of what that 30% would do for the students. But we're not going to go there.
At least they finally, after I graduated, decided to upgrade their field.
Oh boy, that did a lot to teach students.
Yeah, it did. Hey, we're one of the only school districts in Berks County that has an entire film studio.
There you go. And geez, no wonder why you're going to college for what you're going to college for.
Film.
So anyway, I could play this on video, but I won't. Then he Trump talked about, historic funding for black colleges. One side of the aisle stood, the other side didn't. And guess what side didn't? That would be the Democrats. Interesting. Democrats are supposed to be so pro-minority, but when a Republican administration throws money at minority colleges to improve them, Democrats don't like that so much because they want to control the narrative. So then, Grandpa Joe started talking about drugs. Not the drugs he was taking last night. But he wanted to talk about drugs.
Illegal drugs, I would presume?
No, prescription drugs.
Prescription, okay.
Yes. Again, not the ones he was taking last night.
As far as I remember, they were pretty low with Trump.
So, let's see what he says, and let's see how the reaction went in the room.
Other critical priorities for American families. The Affordable Care Act has been a lifeline for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed.
Oh, come on, don't buffer.
Let's lower deductibles for working families on the Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs. We know how to do this.
See now, by the way, there's the awesome Lauren Boebert on the screen. She's my favorite congresswoman. I wish she was the congresswoman in my district. She's the congresswoman that has no problem bringing a gun to Congress. You like Lauren Boebert, right? You should.
Pretty cool that she brings her Glock to Congress.
So, they don't really show the screen there, but of course Democrats got up and, yay, let's lower drug prices, yay. Republicans didn't really do much. Again, the picture of Lauren Boebert, she's not applauding there. Lower drug prices are good. Last I checked. I mean, maybe you guys don't think so. At least, I don't know. I think lower drug prices are good. Do you think lower drug prices are good?
I presume so.
I mean, I think they're a good thing. Wonder who else thinks they're a good thing.
A good life for American families also requires the most affordable, innovative, and high-quality health care system on earth. Before I took office, health insurance premiums had more than doubled in just 5 years. I moved quickly to provide affordable alternatives. Our new plans are up to 60% less expensive and better. I've also made an ironclad pledge to American families. We will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions.
Wasn't that like the biggest thing Obama wanted in the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare? He wanted to cover pre-existing conditions. Well, Trump talks about it. Who's standing and applauding and who's not? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the Vice President Pence that's standing. I believe he's a Republican. And that's Speaker of the House, Crazy Nancy, not standing and applauding, and she's a Democrat.
Can I point out something?
Sure.
Now that you're showing video of last year's joint Congress and this year's, Nancy, I swear, looks like high in last year's.
Well, I'm sure she was.
Or doesn't know where she is because she keeps looking around the room. I'm just confused. Like, she looks confused or something. And then this year, she's like holding her hands all together, like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to be president.
Yeah. So then he goes around and talks about this jobs plan that he wants to, initiate. Now, I'm all for a jobs plan. Jobs plans are great. Putting Americans to work are great. And if you go back and listen to the speech, he talks about for this jobs plan, for this infrastructure that they want to build, which we sorely need built. Our infrastructure is going to hell. They're going to be Buy American. Again, who said that recently? Buy American. God, what was his name? Begins with a T. I just had him on video. I forget what his name is. Trip. Linda Tripp. No. Trump. Oh, Trump. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm all for a jobs plan. Now, of course, how does he want to pay for it? By raising taxes on the rich, is what you always hear. That's the Democratic line all the time. Great. Raise taxes on the rich. Super. Awesome. Great. Most of the people that are rich own businesses. So what's going to happen to the price of their goods in the business? It's going to go up. Great. Super. So it's basically just like taxing the middle class because they're going to have to pay more for their goods. And what you can't afford, you're going to have to pay for by putting that printing press in overdrive. And what happens when you put that printing press into overdrive? That big I word. What? Inflation. Now, the actual rulers of the world, the bankers, have managed to keep inflation low through a program, amongst other things, called quantitative easing. And we don't need to get into the nuts and bolts of quantitative easing.
So what is this worth?
What is it worth? Absolutely nothing.
Good job. You passed. What's it say? It's worth jack. It says it's worth $20, but it's actually worth nothing.
Because it's based on the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
No, if I had some gold, just imagine I have a little bit of gold here. Now that's worth something.
Or some Doge.
That's worth something.
So, yeah. I will say it again. Because then he talked about, $15 minimum wage, blah, 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 blah. Which is the worst thing you could do for this economy all at once. If you want to slowly but surely get it to 15, that would be a lot better. I mean, the poor high school kids that won't have a job, let's take that into account.
I don't think it's going to change anything. Now bread's $1. Well, if you slowly raise it up by 2028 to 15, bread will just be $2. Like everything's just going to double in price.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change anything.
But my argument is to not take the minimum wage from $7.50 or $7.75 or $7.25 straight to 15.
Oh yeah, there is no minimum wage jobs at that point.
Pretty much.
Or very minimum. There's, 2 people working at McDonald's instead of 5.
Yes. And we had a show where we've explained in detail why that would crush our economy. You could certainly go back and find it and watch it at your own convenience. It was a good show. So, how he's going to pay for this jobs plan, who knows? Who knows? I mean, he could say he's going to tax the rich all he wants. What are the rich going to do? They're going to find ways to shelter their money, or they're going to leave the country. And he talks about raising capital gains. That is the fucking worst thing you could do. You could reform the tax structure, because he talked about like the top 50 largest corporations in the United States pay nothing in taxes. Well, other than companies that spend all their money on research and development, like medical research companies, but like Comcast, you're the friends of the socialist Comcast network, who probably pays very little in corporate tax. Yeah, tax them. Great. Close their loopholes. Great. Don't raise corporate taxes. All you're hurting is people like me who have to pay more in capital gains tax. People like the guy in the upper left hand of the corner who'd have to pay more in capital gains tax. Last I checked, we're not rich. But our taxes will go up on capital gains. So reform the tax code all you want. Great, super. Don't raise the tax code. All you're doing is hurting people. All right, so that's my spiel on the speech. Feel free. It was like an hour and 5 minutes long. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. It wasn't such a bad speech. I mean, give the guy props for staying awake for over an hour and giving the speech. But it was the typical Democratic speech. Kind of boring. But it was the best an old fucker could do. What could I say? So, I'd like to know if somebody by the name of Nick is watching the show tonight. Nick, if you're watching the show, do you have the balls to type in the message board, "I'm watching the show"? We'll wait for a minute to see if you have the balls. But we'll get to that later. So right now we're going to get to the Kentucky Derby, because we've already wasted a half an hour on Joe Biden. So, this year's Kentucky Derby. Non-genetically proven son, you got a chance to look at the field last night and today. What's your initial reaction of the 20 horses that are going to be going into the gate, assuming none get scratched? In general, the overall field.
Pathetic.
Pathetic. Very weak. It's a very weak field.
Out of 20 horses, there might be 6 decent ones. 10 are automatic. They have zero chance. Mm-hmm. The difference between first and last could honestly be like 40 lengths.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, depending upon what horses quit or not. But even the favorite isn't any. He's an all right horse, but
he's good. But like, if he faced off against American Pharaoh, it wouldn't even be close.
No, he would get his ass kicked. he would get his ass kicked. So, why don't you tell the people who are watching, when you go about handicapping for the Derby, how do you go about handicapping? And then I'll tell you how I go about handicapping.
You happy with that? Well, basically the first thing I'll look at is obviously the previous races. Mm-hmm. I like to go off of how many times they also raced this year. And there's a couple horses that only raced like once or twice this year so far. Mm-hmm.
Which that's typical, actually.
I look at like their speed, how fast they run, the length of races that they like to run, and where they are after first, second, and stretch in the final. That's mostly all I ever look at. I know you look at a lot of other things.
I do.
But mostly I'll look at stuff in their previous races, not like who their father is and that kind of stuff. I don't get that kind of stuff yet. I don't watch it a lot.
His father was a mutter. His mother was a mutter. His mother was a mutter. All right, so for me, handicapping the Derby it takes a special form of handicapping. I read an article years and years ago about 6 things to look for that work only for the Kentucky Derby. And I've watched this over the year, and it's amazing how well it works. So the 6 things that I look for, in order that I look for them, not least important to most important or most important to least important, is number 1, the horses have to run in one of the big 6 prep races. So there's 6 really big prep races around the country. You have the Florida Derby, you have the Arkansas Derby, you have the Louisiana Derby, not the Los Angeles Derby as some people thought it was. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
You're lagging.
Oh.
So
God.
what, the Los Angeles Derby? Yeah. I get it.
So then you have the Santa Anita Derby, you have the Wood Memorial, and the Bluegrass. So those are the big 6 prep races. Number 2, the big 6 prep races are 9 furlong races, which is a mile and an eighth. For those big 6 prep races, you want to zero in on horses that run the first 4 furlongs in 48 1/5 seconds or less. Number 3, the last 5 furlongs of the race, you want horses that can run them in 1:02 3/5 or less. So a minute, 2 seconds. So a minute, 2 seconds, 0.6 of a second. It's 3/5 of a second or less. Number 4, they have to have a speed rating of 94 or higher. Number 5, they can't lose more than, in the last race, they can't lose more than 2 lengths from the top of the stretch to the end of the race. And number 6, they can't finish worse than second in their next to last race and can't finish worse than third in their previous race. So those are the 6 things that I look for. And basically, as I go down each horse, I check them off. And I look at what horses get the most check marks. Now, typically, for the race, most of the horses get either 3, 4, 5, or 6 checks. Not this year. A lot of these horses got 1. 1. Which just shows you how weak this field is. It is weak. So we're going to go through these horses one by one. There's 20 of them. We're going to do this relatively quickly because, like I said, I want to be done by 8 or shortly thereafter. Now, there's one other thing I want to touch on before we start going over that. I looked at the Kentucky Derby winners going back to the year 2000 and above to see how they finished in their prior race. So, here's the list. In 2019, for those of you that were watching, Maximum Security won the race and he was disqualified. Well, I still used his finishing position, whether you agreed with the disqualification or not. So, going back to the year 2000, the winner of the race, Fusiachi Pegasus, was a really good horse. In his race before, he finished first. In 2001, Monarchos finished second. In 2002, War Emblem finished first. 2003, Funny Side finished second. 2004, Smarty Jones finished first. 2005, Giacomo, who was a really big long shot in the Derby, finished fourth in his previous race. 2006, Barbaro finished first. 2007, Street Sense finished second. I won a lot of money in that Derby. Somebody was sitting right next to me watching it.
Which one?
When Street Sense won.
Yeah, okay.
Big Brown in 2008 finished first. Mind That Bird finished fourth. 2010, Super Saver. Somebody was sitting right next to me when I won a lot of money on that race.
Remember that one?
He finished second. Now, 2011, Animal Kingdom. 2012, I'll have another. 2013, Orb. 2014, California Chrome. 2015, American Pharaoh. 2016, Nyquist. 2017, Always Dreaming. 2018, Justified. 2019, Maximum Security. And 2020, Arrogate. They all finished first. So the last 10 years, the horse that has won the Kentucky Derby finished first the race before. So that's something you could potentially zero in on. So we're going to pull up the PPs for the race. And by PPs, I don't mean that thing that hangs between your legs. I'm talking about the past performances. In horse racing lingo, they're called PPs. Past performance, PPs. Non-genetically proven son, keep an eye on the message board. Since obviously I will not have this up. So, let's go. Again, we're going to go through this relatively quickly. Let's go to the one horse. Known Agenda. Now, for those of you that don't really know how to read these things, don't worry about it. We will help you. I could tell you right now, his last race, which is right here.
What? I still see you, not the thing. I don't know if you meant to pull up the thing.
Sorry, I didn't hit the button. So his last race, which is right here, was the Florida Derby. One of those big 6 races, and he finished first. Oops. He finished first in the Florida Derby. So, what did you think about Known Agenda?
Well, I said he has 2 wins in the last 2 races. He doesn't exactly start quickly. Something I noticed. But he can finish. But the one spot's really going to hurt him, I think. I said a possible top 5.
Okay. So, the rail is the worst spot you could have on the Derby, unless if you have early speed and can get out and lead the race. Known Agenda doesn't have that. Because think about it, you're going to have horses trying to get in front of you, and it's going to be hard for you to get out and go around them. So if he could sit 4th,
I'd like it.
I think he's got a really good chance to actually win the race. Horses that run the Florida Derby and win usually do good. So going back over the 10 years, the Florida Derby winner, 1, 2, 3, 4, has won 4 out of those 10. So 40%. He does get all 6 of my check marks, by the way. So he ran in a big 6 race. Now, he has to run the first 4 furlongs in 48-1. So this is right here, this 47-3 is what the leader of the race ran for 4 furlongs, 47-3. He was 3 lengths back. He was 5th, 3 lengths back at the first call. So you have to add 3/5 of a second to this time, which makes it 48-1. So he hits that 48-1. Then you have to race the last 5 furlongs in less than 102-3. So he had 48-1. You add 102-3 to it. That would be 151. So he has to run the race under 151. He won the race, so you could just look at the finishing time, 149-2, under 151. Excellent. Excellent. 94 speed rating. He had 101. Excellent. Did he lose 2 lengths? No, he won the race, so he couldn't have lost 2 lengths. And he finished first and second in the last race, and first, second, and third in the race before. So he gets all 6 of my check marks, so he will be a contender. If he could get a clear path at the top of the stretch, I could see him winning the race. But the 1 hole is probably the absolute worst post position to have for him. So we'll see what he could do. The 2, Like the King, he's 50-1 on the morning line. By the way, the 1 is 6-1, and he's only 6-1 because he's on the rail. If he was off the rail, he would be 4-1. Like the King, 50-1 long shot. Do you like the King?
Well, I said he has 2 wins this year. He does like to stalk the lead, except for his last race. I said if he can get a good start, he could be there at the end. I think he could get trapped. Possible minor prize.
Okay. To me, this is one of the throwout horses. His last race was the JR Stakes race at Turfway Park. I have no idea what that race is, but that's not one of the big six prep races. So automatically, the maximum number of points he could get is 1, and that is if he is in bullet point number 6. Did he finish first or second in the last race and first, second, or third the race before? Which he did. So he gets 1 point. What I want you to take notice is over here. This A right here. The A stands for polytrack. Polytrack means basic fake dirt, not real dirt. Horses that do good on polytrack typically don't do good on real dirt. They actually do good on turf. So I think you're going to end up seeing this horse be a pretty decent turf horse in the future. To me, he's an absolute throwout. Nothing else needs to be said.
Okay.
The 3 horse, Brooklyn Strong, another 50-1 long shot.
I said one race this year, didn't really show much in that race. Throwaway.
Throwaway. Okay. So he did race in one of the big 6 prep races. He was in the Wood Memorial. But he did not do good in the Wood Memorial, so he gets a point for being in the Wood Memorial. Look at this first 4 furlongs of the race. God-awful slow. 50 seconds is, for a horse race, for these caliber horses, that is awfully slow. They were walking, basically. So there's no way you're going to get point number 2 being 48-1 or under, because the leader of the race was at 50. And he was, by the way, 2.5 lengths behind, so he went 50-2. So 50-2 to 154-2 is a minute, 2 seconds, so he does get number 3 at 102-3. He doesn't have a 94 speed rating. He does not lose 2 lengths, but he didn't finish first or second in his previous race. So he gets, I believe that equaled up to 3 points. And my chart, which makes him a throwout for me, he's not going to do much. By the way, horses that are in the Wood Memorial typically do not have this recent history of not doing good. The last horse that was in the Wood Memorial that won the Derby was Funny Side back in 2003. That's like really hard to believe. And over the past 10 years, horses that have been in the Wood Memorial have finished first, second, or third only twice, and both of them were thirds, I believe. So keep that in mind too. So for me, the 3 is the throwout. Number 4, Keep Me in Mind, another long shot, 50-1.
I said, I will not keep you in mind. 2 races in 2021, showed literally nothing. Throwaway.
Throwaway. Okay. So he was in a big 6 prep. He was in the Bluegrass. So he gets a point for that. He was 2 back of the first call. The first call went in 48-1, so that means he went 48-3. So he doesn't get a point for that. Then he finished 16 lengths back, so that's 3 1/5 seconds. So this was 1 minute and 2/5. So he would have been 59-4. Add 3 1/5, so that would be 103. So he doesn't get a point for being less than 102-3. For that, his speed rating was not above 94. He lost more than 2 lengths from the stretch to the final call. You see here, he was 5th by 8 and then 5th by 16, so he lost 8 lengths in the stretch. And he doesn't get a point for the last one. He gets 1 point. That is it. He is a throwout.
Don't keep him in mind.
I'm not keeping him in mind at all. Sainthood, number 5.
I said 3 races in 2021. Only broke his maiden in February. Will be outmatched. Throwaway.
So what that means, for those of you that don't know, he broke his maiden. You're a maiden until you win your first race. That's what it means. He did not race in a Big Six prep race, so the most he could get is 1 point, and he does get that because he finished first or second in his last 2 races, or first, second, and third, 2 back. So he gets 1 point. I actually think he's got the potential to possibly stick around for a very minor prize, 4th or 5th, possibly. If I was playing a big superfecta ticket with where you got to pick the first 4 winners of the race, I would probably put him in there 4th with a bunch of other horses. But besides that, he's certainly not going to win the race. Obesos, the 6, 20-1 long shot.
All right, 3 races in 2021, a couple of grade 2s.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to get outmatched. He did race in the Los Angeles Derby and got 3rd by 2 lengths.
The Los Angeles Derby.
But he's still a throwaway for me.
Okay. So, the first thing to take notice from Obesos is who his daddy is. Orb. You remember, Orb won the Kentucky Derby. So, his sire right here, Orb. So, his daddy won the Kentucky Derby. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. All it means is his daddy won the Kentucky Derby. He did race in a Big Six prep race, Louisiana Derby. The first 4 furlongs of the race was 47. He was 7 back, so you have to add 1.2 fifths of a second, so that would give him 48 and 2, so he doesn't get the check mark for that. Look at the ending time of this race. This is pathetic. 9 furlongs in 155 on a dry track, mind you. It wasn't raining that day at the fairgrounds in New Orleans. The track wasn't deep. 155 is a god-awful time for a 9 furlong race for these caliber of horses. Minute, whatchamacallit, that dude from Jamaica that could run fast could potentially do a mile and 1/8 in 155.
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt. On concrete, not dirt, obviously. So basically, you're going to see when it comes to the Louisiana Derby, you're going to see I throw out all of them horses, potentially. He does get the 94 speed rating, and that's it. He only gets 2 points because he lost more than 2 lengths. Actually, he gets 3. He gets 3 points. The 2 lengths is just in this race. So he finished 3rd here, 4th here, so he doesn't get the point for that. So he gets a point for being in a Big Six race. He gets a point for the speed rating at 94, and he gets a point for not losing more than 2 lengths in his last race. He actually gained some ground. I don't like him. I don't like any of the horses that came out of the Louisiana Derby. So, for me. Mandalorian, Star Wars fame.
That is not Mandalorian. It's Mandalone or something.
No, it's Mandalorian. Another horse that came out of the Louisiana Derby.
So it raced against the 6 horse in the Los Angeles Derby.
Los Angeles Derby.
They got 6th by 11. So I already hated the 6 horse. So the 7 horse is a throwout.
All right. Now, the first thing that I noticed is his daddy, In the Mischief. In the Mischief is an interesting horse. Early in his stud career, in his child-rearing days, his horses could not run long. His children couldn't go long. 1.25 miles is too long for his horses. Over the last 2 or 3 years, an In the Mischief's son has won the Kentucky Derby. Maximum Security, who got disqualified, was an In the Mischief horse. Arrogate from last year, he was an In the Mischief horse. So, could In the Mischief go 3 for 3? It's possible, but it's not going to be the 7. Again, came out of the Louisiana Derby. I only got him at 2 points. And that's because he was in a Big Six race, and he did the first 4 furlongs in under 48 and 1. But he may be a typical In the Mischief horse that he can't get the distance, because he was fading at a mile and 3/16. Actually, I didn't notice that. So that actually makes more sense that 155 is on a mile and 3/16. They changed that. They changed the distance of the race this year. I didn't see that. I should have noticed that. My bad. So that might bring back a couple of horses from the Louisiana Derby. Oops. They're coming to shut us down.
Huh?
They're coming to shut us down.
Yep. Jesus.
The number 8 horse, Medina Spirit.
So second last time out in the San Antonio Derby?
Santa Anita Derby.
San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Seems to be a solid horse all around. I like for a minor prize.
Okay. I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think he could get the distance. Looking at his last 2 races, a mile and a 16th, he faded in the stretch. A mile and an 1/8, he faded in the stretch. He's going to fade in the stretch at a mile and a quarter. For me, he gets 5 out of 6 stars, or 5 out of 6 checks. So he's certainly a decent horse, as the non-genetically proven son said. I don't think he could get the distance. Could he potentially hang on for a 4th? Yeah, it's possible, but I kind of doubt it. So I will not be keying on him to win the race. But trainer is Bob Baffert. Bob Baffert is probably the best trainer in the country right now. The 9 horse, Hot Rod Charlie.
Won the Los Angeles Derby last time out.
Louisiana Derby.
Other than that, hasn't really showed a ton. Said a possible top 5, but a throwaway for me.
Right. He basically went wire to wire in the Louisiana Derby. He gets 5 out of my 6 check marks as well. That really screwed me up with the Louisiana Derby not being a mile and an 1/8 this year. I have to figure out why they extended that by a 16th of a mile. That really screwed a lot of things with me, with my handicapping. He is potentially there for... I don't think he could win the race, but I think he could certainly be there at the end. As I said, he gets 5 out of my 6 check marks. And he's trained by Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill has had some Derby success. Midnight Bourbon, the number 10 horse.
I said I don't see a ton here. Not too fast. Outmatched. Throwaway.
All right. For me, he gets 5 out of 6 check marks, which isn't bad. He's another horse out of that Louisiana Derby race. What I don't like is you don't see him passing a lot of horses. If you look at his last 2 races, second at the first call, second at the second call, second at the top of the stretch, second at the finish, second at the first call, second at the second call, second at the top of the stretch, third at the finish. Obviously, he does not like to pass horses. Horses that don't like to pass horses, if they're not on the lead, they're not going to win the race. He's not going to win the race. Potential for a minor prize. 11, Dynamic One, 20-1 long shot.
Doesn't seem to start very fast. I think he'll be towards the back off the start. Won't be able to make it up. Throwaway.
Okay. So, I actually think he could close. He has a shot in this race. He's one of the longer shots that I will put in my exacta. Exacta being you have to finish first or second. Only because he does show the ability to close. Now, we're going to see this a little bit better when we get to the 20 horse. But the Wood Memorial, as I said earlier, the first 4 furlongs in that race went 50 seconds. And he closed into that to finish second. He was 7th at the first call, and he closed to finish second. So he had to run what's called into a bias, because usually a closer does better when the first half of the race is fast, not slow, because the horses get tired up front. So he actually closed into that bias. I think he's got a chance here. He gets 4 out of 6 stars for me. But again, my only concern is he's coming out of the Wood Memorial, which they don't usually do good. Helium, number 12, 50-1 long shot. Undefeated horse.
3 starts, 3 wins, but 3 pretty crappy races. It's a possible minor, but I am going to throw him out.
Okay. He gets 1 star for me. He's a throw out. He was a long shot at the Tampa Bay Derby. Let's put it that way, which is a minor derby. He will not be there at the end. Number 15, another long shot, Hidden Stash, 50-1.
So I don't see much here. I think he's completely outmatched. Throwaway.
He is very outmatched. He is a throwaway. He got 2 check marks. 14, your favorite in the race, essential quality, undefeated, 5 starts, 5 wins.
For the first 13 horses, this is definitely the best horse in the field so far. Last time out won the Bluegrass. As long as he is no more than 2 wide, he'll be fine. He'll be there at the end.
Okay. He obviously is one of the best horses in this race. There's a reason why he's the favorite. He gets all 6 of my checks. If you look, he went 48-1 at the first call of his last race, and the winning time was 1:48.2. So he went 1 minute and 1/5 of a second. That is really good time for the last 5 furlongs of a 9 furlong race. That's why he's the favorite. That's why he's going to go off as the favorite. That's why I could potentially see him winning the race or being second. Definitely a play in my book. Number 15, something I do with all the ladies. I rock your world.
Won the San Diego Derby last outing. He has 3 wins and 3 starts. Not totally sure he can get the distance, but I like him to be there in the end.
Okay. He gets 5 out of my 6 checks, but he's 1/5 of a second away from getting all 6 checks. I think he's another major player in this race. A major player in this race. It will not shock me at all if he finishes in the top 2 or the top 3. I will definitely be putting him into my tickets. He won the Santa Anita Derby, and he actually won it for fun. He was pulling away at the end. He won it by 4 lengths. He was pulling away. And he wasn't even the favorite in the race. He was the second or third choice. He was 5-1 that day. And like I said, he won it for fun. He put away. The horse that finished second was the favorite, and he ran second basically all the way around, and he couldn't match to the winner. I think he's got a really good shot to be there at the end. 16, King Fury.
He ran once this year. He did win.
Does the King raise your fury?
He ran once this year. Did win. I'm not seeing a ton here. Doesn't really break fast. Will fall behind. Throwaway.
This is my only horse that got 0 checks. Nothing else needs to be said.
That is unfortunate.
Nothing else needs to be said. Do you have like a studio audience?
Yeah, I don't know if she's listening though.
Okay. 17, highly motivated. Are you highly motivated?
I think he's a decent horse. Not really sure he can get the distance. He got second at the Bluegrass. I am gonna throw him out just because he's too outside for me, and it's too long of a distance. I think he has. With the 14 and 15 horse, I don't think he'll be able to get past them, so he'll end up filing back.
Okay. Now, he only lost to the favorite of the race by a neck in the Bluegrass. And if you go watch that race until the last 50 feet, you would have thought highly motivated was going to win the race. Seriously, people, go back and watch that race. Up until the last 50 feet, it looked like highly motivated is going to be winning that race. I think he actually has a major shot to be there, not running on the lead. I think if he has the lead in the race, he's not going to win. I think he wants to come off the pace. I think he wants to sit 4th, 5th, 6th, and make his move at the top of the stretch, like he typically does in all of his races, with the exception of the last one. If he does that, I think he has a great shot of winning the race. He's another horse out of In the Mischief. could Into Mischief go for 3 in the last 3 derbies. At 10-1, I will definitely put money on him to win. I don't think he'll be 10-1 though, but that's his morning line. I have no problem putting $20 to win on him at 10-1. Not at all. Super stock, 30-1.
He won the Arkansas Derby last outing. I'm assuming that's the Arkansas Derby.
Hey, you got one right.
Other than that, there's literally nothing about this horse. Not too sure about this horse. He could have a hard time with better horses inside. Probably a toss-out.
All right. My question is, what is the real super stock? The one that won the Arkansas Derby, or the one that finished 4th in the Rebel, which is the the practice race for the Arkansas Derby? Like, it's, their second biggest race of the year is the Rebel, and then their biggest race of the year is the Arkansas Derby. So, which horse is going to be the real one? I tend to think more it's going to be the Rebel horse. But to be on the safe side, I will throw him in on the bottom in some exactas and trifectas, especially at 30-1, just in case. Because in case he does surprise and run back to his last race at 30-1, I wouldn't want to miss an exacta for spending only like $5 or $6 to put him in there. Where an exacta with him, even with the favorite, would probably pay $200 and some odd, if not more. Number 19, Soup and Sandwich. Did you have soup and sandwich for lunch today?
No, I had mac and cheese.
Close.
He got second in the Florida Derby by 2 3/4. Position might hurt more than anything. Possibly pushed to 4 wide. Possible minor prize, but a toss-out.
Okay. I have him getting 5 check marks. The only one he didn't get... Actually, he should have got all 6 check marks. Never mind. You can tell I did that late at night. I don't like his post in this race, but I didn't like Arrogate's post last year at 20, and they ran the same style of race. They both like the lead. He likes the lead. He's going to do whatever he needs to get the lead. Now, though, because this is a weak field, you might not have anybody catch him. It's possible. If he stays at 30-1, I will put a little bit of win money on him at 30-1. Because he's not that bad of a horse. Especially a horse that gets 5 or 6 of my checks. At 30-1, I'd have to put some win money on him.
I think that would be a funny name for the announcer who does the Kentucky Derby. Soup and Sandwich wins the Kentucky Derby!
By the way, he's another Into Mischief horse.
I just think that'd be hilarious.
That would be funny. Hopefully it's like Lebanon bologna and cheese. Bourbonic, the 20 horse. This horse is it interests me a lot.
Good for you.
So go ahead.
I said he'll be outmatched because he's going to get pushed wide. Probably 4 wide, so he's going to be a toss-out because he's going to get tired.
Okay. Number 1, he's not going to be pushed 4 wide.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
I'm telling you, 4 wide.
He's not going to get pushed 4 wide because he will probably be last. So that's going to get him closer to the fence. He will save as much ground as possible early in the race. Trust me on that. Do not be surprised if he's last. Look at his last race, though. He won the Wood Memorial, by the way, at the longest odds ever of a horse to win the Wood Memorial, 72-1. Go back and watch that race. At the top of the stretch, he was still about 8 lengths back of the lead at the top of the stretch. It says here he was 5th by 3. That's not at the top of the stretch. That's about halfway down the stretch. It was amazing to watch him gobble up horses at the end of that race. And again, he had to run into a huge bias that day because the start of the race was so slow. He was 10 lengths back at the first call, so he ran the first half of the race in 52 seconds. 52 seconds. So he ran the last 5 furlongs in 1:02 and 2. A really good time. Again, to tell you, though, how good the 14 horse is, the 14, don't forget, ran it in 1 minute and 5 seconds. So he ran it in 9 lengths better than the 20 ran his last 5 furlongs. That's why the 14 is the favorite, by the way. Because he could run such a fast last 5 furlongs of the race. This is the horse that confuses me at the most. I don't think he will win the race. I will put win money on him, though. He does get 5 of my checks. Only because... why I don't think he's going to win it, because he's going to have to come back from 2. He's going to have to pass 19 horses to win the race, because I do think he's going to be last. And he doesn't have Calvin Burrell on it, so he's not going to be doing that right up the rail. He's going to have to loop horses. Could he get 3rd or 4th? Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, give me who you think is going to be 1st and 2nd.
My 14-15.
14-15.
In whatever order.
14-15 in whatever order. You know, there used to be a time where the favorite never won this race. Never. I think it was the 90s and the 2000s. Those 20 years, a favorite didn't win the race. Or the 80s and the 90s, a favorite didn't win the race. It was, seriously, it was like 20 years. 20 years. So I could see where you like the 14 and the 15. I'm not going to take the 14 to win. I will put him 2nd. In the picks here, I will put him 2nd. And above him, I will put the 1, the 15, the 17, and the 19. So I will play 1, 15, 17, 19 over 1, 14, 15, 17, and 19 in exacta.
I have 3 different exacta plays.
Okay.
I have 14 with 1, 2, 8, 15.
Mm-hmm.
15 with 1, 2, 8, 14.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 horse with the 1, 8, 14, 15.
Okay.
I think if one doesn't win, it's the 14 and 15, the 2 horse.
Okay. So, before we leave, though, if you had to pick just one horse, just one, to put your money on, if you had $100 and you could only play it to win on one horse, who are you putting your $100 on?
15.
15. Okay. So, you like Rock Your World at 5 to 1.
He's going to rock 14's world.
He's kind of like I do the ladies. I rock their world.
All right. Relax.
Good pick. That's a good pick. That is a really, really, really good pick. For me, if I had $100 and could only put it on one horse, this is tough. I either want to do it for the one horse or the 17 or the 19. If I could only pick one. God, that's hard. I won't pick the 17, and I'll pick the number 1. I'm not picking the 17 or the 19 because they didn't win their last race.
The problem with the 1 is, for me, and it's very similar to how I ran track. I understand humans and horses are way different. But
slightly.
In track, if you are the one hole, you need to get out fast. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you are going to get boxed in and you're not getting out for a while. Mm-hmm. And by the time he can get out, I think it's too late.
And you could be exactly right. The one thing that I think he has going for him, and it's only because of this year, because the field is weak. So I think he's going to have the maneuverability to be able to get out when he needs to be able to get out. And I think he's going to be saving all the ground that he needs to save, being along the rail for most of the race. And I think he wins in a photo. So that's who if I had to only pick one, and because I don't like to play the favorite, I will pick the one horse.
I want him just to say sandwich and whatever, soup and sandwich.
Soup and sandwich. So
sandwich wins the Kentucky Derby.
On Saturday, on my personal Facebook page, on the PA Phatts Facebook, or the Phatts TV Facebook page, the group page, and the personal page, I will put both of our plays down for the race, and we can see how we do. By all means, comment on them as well, and let me know what your plays are. We would like to know, because nobody wants to comment here. We will save the Kamala Harris Award because Nick either isn't watching or is a pussy and won't tell me he's watching. So, because he's going to get the award. He just doesn't know it yet. And nobody knows who Nick is except me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to watch the draft. We went a little bit longer than I wanted to. Have a great weekend. Have a great Kentucky Derby. We will see you next Tuesday. Remember, where we go one,
we go all.
Have a good one.